Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game in the match that's finished. West Ham United 0, Manchester United 1 at Old Trafford. That tells very little of the story. For any of you tuning in now, just finished watching the game. That was really quite an ending. We might have lost, but it was very, very exciting at the end. I'm joined by Tommy, and we're going to go through it in chronological order, or as close as we can. Just before we go through that, without giving any detail on the game, Tommy, how you feeling now?
Very frustrated. You know, for not the usual reasons though. Very
Yeah.
frustrated in a very different way than I usually am. Usually it's because we haven't really made enough of a game of it in these kinds of fixtures, but frustrated on this occasion because I thought we made a right game of it, particularly in the second half and particularly in the final quarter of the game. So really frustrated that we've come away from that with nothing, because we certainly deserve something more than nothing.
I would totally agree. I mean, and for those of you, I've not seen any of the stats as yet. We had lots of corners, we had lots of shots. I don't know who got man of the match. I would imagine it would either have been Man United's goalkeeper or central defender. Tommy's
They gave
absolutely
it to
right.
Rashford. If you can believe it, Gary Neville gave it to Rashford, amazingly. I couldn't
Right.
believe
Oh,
it. Yeah,
well,
couldn't
that's
believe
weird.
it.
That's
Yeah.
weird. I'm not saying I'm not so biased that I think the West Ham player should have got it. Actually, I do, but I wouldn't be. I don't blame them for giving it to a Man United player, but give it to De Gea, give it to Martinez. And there are a
I
couple
thought
of
Dello. I thought
Dallo.
Dello had a magnificent
Dallo
game.
was really, really good, and this is sort of my point. We're praising Manchester United defenders here, and because they played very, very well. We started well. It wasn't just a second half fight back from West Ham. We started early on, couple of early shots from Ben Rama with some quite well, there was a couple of battles with Skamaka, Tommy, where he just managed to win the physical battle and get a couple of through balls through to Ben Rama, who had a couple of early shots, mate.
Yeah, I was quite pleased with how brightly we started. I think one of the issues we've had, because we know Moyes is going to want to keep it tight at the back, and we're going to get players behind the ball when United are in possession. The key has always been, can we counter attack quickly and carry a threat while we do it? And unfortunately, we haven't done that enough in the past. But I thought today, right from the off, we looked like we were carrying a threat on the counter, particularly, as you say, through Ben Rama. He looked very bright, very lively. The balls were getting up there to the likes of Ben Rama and Skamaka quickly, and to Bowen, which is key if you're going to play on a counter attack. That ball's got to be transitioned quickly, because if you dally on the ball, play one sidewards or
Yeah.
backwards pass, that's it. They've filed back, and now the moment's gone. And for too long, it's kind of been that way for us. But much better today, I thought, in transition. We got the ball out from the back very quickly. The right ball seemed to be being played. We were particularly focusing on channeling the ball out to Ben Rama. He was really lively. He was carrying the ball forward quickly. And like you say, we were creating problems right from the off, early doors on the counter attack. And it felt promising.
One particular counter attack, nothing massive happened, but I felt a sense of injustice. I got to say, and I don't overly complain. I think if I don't complain about penalties and stuff like that, I really don't. I try and be as fair as I can. But this annoyed me when Declan Rice were on a counter attack. Declan Rice skipped past the challenge. He does this every other game or so, makes a really good run, and the ball. He kept the ball in. Clearly, it wasn't even if you were to use goal line technology on the byline, which you wouldn't, of course, but it wouldn't show it as being like a centimetre over. Half the ball was still over the line. That really annoyed me. And it killed what could have been quite a promising counter attack. Tommy, why did you read that?
Yeah, I was really, really annoyed at that. That's a shocking decision. You could see you didn't need a replay. You could see in real time that ball was kept in by Rice. Like you say, he's driving down the wing,
Yeah.
which he's brilliant at, by the way. Yeah, I mean, how many times have we seen Declan Rice end up over on the left wing where it looks like there's nowhere to go, and then he just skips past the player and he's driving. And that was a real threat from us, because when Declan's driving with the ball like that, towards your box. I mean, he's really hard to stop.
Yeah.
Really hard. And that looked like something, we might get something from this attack when Deck drives like that. And then for the flag to go up, I mean, I couldn't believe it. Because I don't believe the linesman could make that decision. I really don't. I think Declan would have been blocking the linesman's view with his foot / leg. I don't think that linesman could see the ball. I really don't. And I think probably a couple of hands went up on the sideline from United and he just chucked his flag up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm convinced the linesman guessed.
Yeah, and I think it's important, Tommy, and I think it's important because once he was gone, he was unopposed then. He could have, there was no right back there. He could have driven into the box. We would have had some support. You never know what was going to happen. I'm not moaning for moaning's sake. It's not like I think there's a massive conspiracy. I just think that was bad. For instance, I don't think the Zuma McTominay one was a penalty. So it's not like I'm calling everything for West Ham here. I just thought that was a little bit crap. But we did have some attacks. We did have some corners, which, let's be fair, were executed pretty poorly. We're not very good at corners this season, which is a shame and a bit of a concern, really. And particularly when we get onto the second half, we had a load of them in the second half. Crazy, really. They scored a goal, though, which is obviously why Rashford got mad at the match. What was your reading of this goal, Tommy, and how it came about?
Again, I know Gio's saying, show me a goal, I'll show you a defensive error. And unfortunately, we had two glaringly obvious ones on this one. I mean, this was just from a throw-in. We're set defensively. Everyone's picking someone up. You should be in good position here to keep this out. But unfortunately, a lack of effort, I think, first from Cresswell, and then secondly from Kehrer, has cost us the game ultimately. Just a short throw-in, and who was it put the cross? It was Eriksson. Ball is just not down to Eriksson. He takes a touch, and then he's able to take a step and put a beautiful ball in the box. But Cresswell's there. Cresswell is in closing distance, and he makes this kind of half-hearted effort to close down, and then kind of, again, half-heartedly just kind of sticks a boot out. No real effort behind it to block the shot. He absolutely could have got there and could have blocked that cross, Cresswell, but he just didn't put the effort in for whatever reason. So the cross comes in, and then Kehrer, for some reasons, decide that he can just stand there and wait for the ball. That he doesn't have to go attack it and clear it. That he's just standing, waiting for the ball to come to him. And of course, Rashford's coming in from behind him, and he doesn't wait. He runs towards the ball, attacks it, and puts it in the roof of the net from close range. So I thought it was just very poor play, first from Cresswell and then from Kehrer. It was just a lack of effort, frankly, from the two of them.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a worry marking that back post area. I mean, it almost got did by Fred in exactly the same way later on, which is a shame, by the way, because up to that point he was outstanding, such a progressive passer of the ball, so went on we should probably say went on a really, really good dribble up the pitch, which almost resulted in a goal, albeit Bowen was offside. I
do really like Kehrer, and I agree. I was impressed with a lot of what he did today, particularly going forward, and he did do some good defensive work. I think on the ground, defensively, he's solid. He's a good defender. The big worry with him, which is his big weak spot, is on crosses, aerial challenges. He's not strong in the air, Kehrer. And I do worry when he has to deal one-on-one with anyone in the box when a cross comes in.
It's funny, actually, because I find him better at defending crosses when he plays at centre-back. Yet when he plays at full-back, he doesn't seem to put his centre-back hat on, if you know what I mean. He seemed, I don't know, maybe it's not my job. Anyway, but I thought there was so much good coming. One of our best players in the first half, it has to be said, and played decently in the second as well. Just before half-time, I thought Fabianski made a really good decision to come out and head the ball away from Eriksson. Ultimately, it was offside, but he wasn't to know that at the time anyway. Injured himself in the process. So then we have half time. The first I knew about it at the start of the second half was Areola was his replacement. Areola had obviously made a half-time substitution. Areola was on. So what were your feelings after the first half? Bearing in mind we were a goal down, what were you thinking at that point?
Um, I was relatively happy with our performance. I felt we were playing quite well. We were getting on the ball, quite a lot. I thought both teams actually, particularly in the first half and actually quite a ways into the second half, were very sloppy in possession.
Yeah.
And that was no, I don't care about United being in possession. That's good for us.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I just needed us to be a little bit tidier on the ball. We had enough possession and we got into their final third enough times, that we should have made more of it than we did. We should have been able to create some opportunities where we could get some shots off. But unfortunately, some sloppy passes, just the sharpness was what I was worried about. I just thought we just need to be a little bit sharper with the passing, a little bit quicker sometimes with it. I think there were times when we just delayed passes a little too long. They weren't played quickly enough. So I was relatively pleased, but I just thought we're just going to sharpen up, be a little bit more clinical with that final pass, or maybe improve a little bit on the crossing. And it was obvious to me that there was something in this game for us. If we could just improve a little bit on those areas. I also would have liked, if I'm honest, to have seen a little tweak to the team. Again, I thought Souček was particularly guilty of sloppiness in the first half. There were a few occasions where we were our own worst enemy, coming
Yeah.
out with the ball from our own half and just giving it right back to United. And then suddenly we're turned and running back, trying to defend towards our own goal. We put ourselves in some very difficult situations unnecessarily in that first half. And there were just there was a particular issue for Souček. I thought there were a couple of occasions where he gave
Yeah.
away really sloppy passes, and it put us in trouble. And so I wanted to tweak it at halftime. I would have taken Souček off, to be completely honest, at halftime, and I would have brought Antonio on then and put him on the left wing and moved Benrahma in central, with Flynn Downs and Rice alongside each other, because I thought United were there to be got at. And I think just Rice and Downs are just much tidier in possession and are not going to cough the ball up like Souček was. But
Yeah.
overall, I was quite pleased, and I did feel that there was something in it for us in the second half if we could just tidy it up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just going on to what you were talking about, I think there were two glaring things for me in terms of what you just mentioned. So there were two passes where Souček gave the ball away, not under pressure either, by the way. Relatively simple passes, which prompted an attack, and there was an awful one from Dawson as well, which ironically enough, it was Souček who saved his bacon basically did a sort of sliding blocked interception which I thought was probably a really good opportunity for them to score. But yeah, I also thought it was evident when you saw, well, not just for the cross that Eriksen did, but there were a couple of long range crossfield passes from Casemiro, and Eriksen was playing some really deep lying, would drop deep and would pass the ball really, really well. And I think if there was a noticeable difference between the two teams, that was it. It was we had a lack of real creative passing. We didn't have that long range passer in the middle. But we get to half time. So Areola is on for Fabianski. We start the half, and I think pretty much a hindrance straight away is Scamacca. So that was on 56 minutes. Scamacca gets substituted off. Antonio comes on. If you've not seen the game, the reason it happened, Scamacca was already on a card, and he got into a little bit of a challenge. I think it was possibly Martinez. I don't blame Scamacca for going for the ball at all. But by that point, I think possibly a little bit overcautious from Moyes, but Moyes certainly made the substitution because he thought there might be a second yellow coming and subsequently a red card. So he removed Scamacca from danger. Antonio arrived onto the pitch. There was a period, I think, between Antonio arriving on the pitch and the next 10 minutes. I think between what I've actually written it down here, between the 56th and the 66th minute, you had a real period of domination from Manchester United, 10 minutes, where they were all over us. Aside from that, that stopped, and we started to get into the game, Tommy.
Yeah, it was a sloppy start to the second half from us.
Yeah.
We started it a bit slowly. Like say, United were on top. There was really nothing much happening. And as you say, yes, Scamacca, I think I agree with the substitution on this occasion. I think it was the right decision to get Scamacca off.
You think he was losing
Like
it?
you say, yeah, I think there was a genuine possibility that he might have got his marching orders, because I think he was one foul away from getting sent off, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, I think the referee was correct to not send him off for the challenge on Martinez. The ball was up in the air. He did go for it with his foot. Martinez came in to head it away. Scamacca caught him. I think the referee applied some common sense there to say, look, he was going for the ball. It was an accidental collision. But you do know that in the back of the referee's mind, he's thinking, next foul from him, I'm going to card him. So
sure.
I think Moyes had to play it safe there, because we know Scamacca is the kind of player who does get stuck in and who will put a challenge in. So he's not the kind. I don't think Scamacca is the kind of player that can carry a yellow card for too long. So I can understand that substitution. I didn't disagree with it. But yeah, those first kind of 10, 15 minutes of the second half didn't look too clever. We were struggling a little bit. We were basically pinned back by United. Albeit we defended quite stoically. I don't think Areola really had much to do in that period.
No.
So United didn't really create anything much in that period. And we were very, very stoic all game defensively, I have to say.
We
But
were,
after that little
we
period,
get on to some individuals in a minute. Let's just fast forward a little bit. This is really when the game sort of came into life. I feel sort of from the 70th minute onwards. Later on, Fornals was swapped over for Flynn Downs. And then we started to get a lot of corners. Now, if Gio was here, he'd have the stats to hand. I don't even know what website he uses, quite frankly. But we had a lot of corners. We had a lot of attacks. And I think part of the catalyst for that, there was a bit of a shoving match. This was quite key. There was a shoving match between Antonio and Martinez. Antonio looked for the foul off the referee. And the referee said, I'm not giving it. There's no foul there. Antonio got the ump. And then he went back and he basically shoulder barged Martinez off the ball. And the referee said, I'm going to let that go as well. You guys just play football, right?
Yeah.
And it seemed to be, I don't know, it was like an epiphany for Antonio thinking, hold on a second. And at that point, from that point onwards, he sort of stopped trying to win fouls and he started to then be aggressive. Had a really, really good shot on I think it was on the 82nd minute, and we were just peppering their goal at this point, and De Gea was making just a string of saves. What were you thinking at that point? Did you believe that we could score at that point, because we were having a right go?
Believe is probably too strong a word. I felt there was a great opportunity for us to score. Like I say, that was our best period of the game. And just to actually rewind a little bit, I think Ten Hag did us a massive favour with his subs. I really do. Like I say, we had that initial 10-minute period or so in second half, beginning of the second half, where we weren't really at it, and United were on top. And I thought actually we took over after that period. I thought we were already in control in midfield.
Yes.
And we had taken over midfield. We were getting lots of possession. Unfortunately, we still weren't doing much with it in the final third, but I think we were controlling that midfield enough that it really worried Ten Hag, and he felt like he had to try and get a grip in midfield, because I think he felt like the game was starting to turn away from them. And he brought on first Fred and then McTominay. Yeah. And I think he just completely handed over control of this game to us, because the message is, the medium is the message, right?
Yeah.
If you're bringing on Fred and McTominay, that's you telling your players, right, we're struggling here, and we need to shore things up. And really, from that point on, we were in absolute control of that game, and we completely bossed it from that point on. And it's just a pity that we only really started to pepper the goal so late in the game. And to be fair, I think De Gea must have made about 4 absolutely brilliant saves. That any one of them could have gone in. And we were really in that final quarter of the game. I mean, we were absolutely peppering them. We were in complete control, and I think Ten Hag helped us to achieve that. Frankly, I'm going to say he did a Moyes in a way, where he just decided, right, I've got this 1-0 lead. Yeah, I've got this 1-0 lead. They're playing well. we're struggling a bit in the middle. I'm just going to bring on, Fred and McTominay here, just going to shore it up. And we're going to sit on this 1-0 lead. And we know what happens when you do that, Gonzo. You just invite the opponents onto you, and they will start peppering you, and you're going to be kind of hanging on grimly. We've seen West Ham do it all too often. Ten Hag decided that was the way he was going to go today. And like I say, like those final 15 minutes in particularly, I mean, we were just absolutely all over them. And it's really because of De Gea that we haven't got at least a point from that. Because Ten Hag, I think, would have deserved it if we'd have gone on and won that game and scored twice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. I was certainly worried with the formation, with the lack of an attacking midfielder. And I do think it hindered us. Don't get me wrong. I think the lack of a creative deep line midfielder hindered us. I've almost stopped assessing Souček as a midfielder now. I almost assess him as a defender. I think I thought Downs did the very best he could, but he is not a number 10. So, I think that's a hindrance, having a defensive attacking midfielder. And, but bearing that in mind, what you had was, even though the formation, the personnel selected didn't reek of an attacking team, I thought the intent did. And I thought we had intent from the team to want to attack. And actually, what we were missing at the end was the ultimate craft or guile to actually open them up, because what we had was a load of defensive players with really good attitudes trying to, really trying to attack. You actually had, people like Kara and Zuma and people like that trying to attack, bless them, trying their best. But actually the people that you really needed to be a little bit sharp and have something about them, like Bowen, I like Skamaka had already gone off, like Ben Rama, we were ultimately not able to have accurate shots, which I think in the end sort of hindered us. But the attitude, the endeavour was really good. We certainly most of our players by the end of the game had won their battles, but in terms of a physical contest, we just didn't quite have the cutting edge for it. So we had a header from Zuma near the end from Cresswell. Eventually got a decent delivery in there. Zuma got that header on target. We had a ridiculously good shot from Antonio. If you didn't see the game, those shots that Antonio hits that look like they're about to go out the stadium. Not this one. This one was a really good one. So it had all the power to take it out of the stadium, but it stayed in the stadium. It stayed on goal. A really good save from De Gea. We had,
Rice hit a screamer right near the end as well.
That's the last one. Bowen first, right in front of goal. Should have scored. Will be really disappointed he didn't score. Not quite. I was going to say not quite that far out, but times that by 4, and that's how far out he was probably. And then, just when I think at any other time in the game, if Rice is in this position, the crowd scream shoot, but everyone knew it was the last kick of the game. So I think probably everybody wanted him to play one more ball into the box or do something, because there's no way he's going to score from there. Or you think but. My word, he hit that really, really sweet. It was an excellent shot. And another great save from De Gea, who pulled off near the end 3 top-class saves. The referee blew the whistle. Played every second of injury time. Of course, we just couldn't find a way through. But there was one team that wanted that game to end, and there was one team that didn't. We didn't want it to end. Yeah. Man United did, and they would have been really, really happy. So anyway, pick me out. Save your man of the match, please. Pick me out a couple of players, 2 or 3 players, please, Tommy.
I thought Benrahma was lively, particularly first half, and then I think he kind of came back into it a bit kind of later in the second half. But unfortunately, he did lose the ball quite a bit, which I don't mind too much, because I'd rather he was trying to make something happen and lose possession than he's just overly cautious with the ball and just decides to play it back instead. I think Benrahma was very busy. He did a lot of good things, but unfortunately, again, with him, it's just that final product just isn't there. But he did look lively, particularly in that first half where he was our main outlet, really. He was the main threat for us. So I thought he had a decent game and ran out and just let himself down on the final ball as usual. Mostly, I think defensively, I think we did really well. Kerr, obviously, look, he's let himself down a bit at the back post there for the goal. Just really needs to attack that ball and get it clear, and just stood watching it. So there is a little bit of a mixed bag for Kerr. He had a couple of other moments where he was a little shaky, I thought, under crosses, but I thought overall, I thought Kerr had a really good game.
Yeah.
I thought everything he did on the ground, I thought was excellent. And coming forward, the great thing with him, he's such a good passer of the ball and an intelligent player, and he almost always makes the right pass and he doesn't lose the ball. And he supplemented that attack down the right hand side. Let's just say he was better than Bowen down that side. He seemed to be more of a threat down the right hand side than Bowen was for us today. So I thought Kerr did really well. Dawson really solid again. But you know what you get with Dawes. I think he's a really solid player, had a really good game. I thought Zuma as well had a superb game. Zuma was brilliant and almost scored. Declan Rice, obviously, Mr. Dependable. Absolutely cracking game from Declan again. He's just
now I'm wondering who your man of the match is. I thought I had it, but maybe I don't. I'll pick out a couple of players. I'll go with Kera as well. It's a real shame about that back post, that attacking the ball.
Yeah, it just kind of knocks a couple of points off his
because I thought he was really good. Aside from that, I thought it was a really, really good display. I thought there were times, particularly early on in the first half, where we went long ball too early. The kickoff always frustrates me. Yep, knock it back. There you go. Launch it forward. We'll retrieve ball. The amount of times we kick it to Fabianski and ask him to kick it up there it annoys the hell out of me because you just see the ball come back. And particularly if we had such a load of defensive players who are obviously going to struggle to make that. The sort of passes that you see in Ericsson and Casemiro play, we didn't have that in our team. The one player I thought had really progressive passing was Kera. I would say he would look to pass it forward. He wasn't looking to launch it, he'd keep it on the deck. So I was really quite disappointed he made that mistake there because I thought I thought he's up to that point. His performance at right back was so good. There's no way back for Soufal or even Johnson here. If he carries on and plays at that standard at right back, dribbling forward, just all the stuff as well. I thought, so that's I guess a positive and a negative from him because he was at fault and he did get caught out by Fred later as well. Bowen wasn't. Bowen got done. The reason I said earlier I thought most people won their individual battles. The reason I used the word most, I had Bowen in mind as somebody that didn't. I thought Luke Shaw just did him basically. He met his match today. I really felt he did.
Yeah, there was a period for a time there in the second half. I just forgot he was on the pitch. If I'm honest.
Yeah, he was easily.
And that was at a time when we were on top.
Yeah,
and I just completely forgot that Bowen was on the pitch. It was just when we got a corner, he went to take it. I was like, oh yeah, Bowen's still on.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll give you my man of the match before we get yours. Just because I am very intrigued, though, Tommy. Very intrigued to see your man of the matches. My man of the match is Kurt Zuma. I thought he was an absolute colossus today. I've been a bit worried about Zuma. Is he fit? Can he come back? I thought he was completely dominant. Completely dominant. And what I loved from Zuma is his attitude as well. I don't know what all that bringing it out from the back is all about, but I'll tell you what I will give it. It's urgency. I thought it smacked of someone who's crying out for someone creative in his team. Oh, well, there's no one here. I'm going to have to do it, right? And I love that attitude, but his blocks, his headers, his strength. I thought today, I thought he looked at his best. I thought he looked fit. I thought he looked strong. He had 2 one-on-one races where he did really well. I think at the very start he had, I can't even remember what it was, but he had a foot race with somebody at the start. Alanga's, maybe that was who it was, did just enough to lean on him to make sure Alanga's shot was weak. Then later on down the other side, he had a foot race with somebody else. Cleared it up.
Fernandez.
It was Fernandez, wasn't it? Did really well there, and you had all the blocks, all the headers, all the stuff. Really thought he did his header and his shot on target really well. Yeah, I was Zuma of that standard is just a top class centre half. And if he can stay at that form and if he can stay that fit, I think there won't be too many teams that score lots and lots of goals against us. It's if we can sort out that other bit. Who's your man of the match, Tommy?
You'll be happy to know we're on the same page. Yeah,
cheeky.
Yeah, I've got Zuma as well. I think it's a no-brainer, frankly. He was imperious.
Yeah.
Just from start to finish. I mean, it was flawless. It was absolutely flawless. I mean, and I don't throw around, terms loosely, Gonzo. I'm careful with my terms, but he was world class today.
Yeah,
he was absolutely world class today. Everything he did perfectly. He was just a rock. It's just those you shall not pass.
Yeah.
I mean, just defensively, he was flawless. Nobody was beating him in any way. Not in the air, not on the ground. His timing was impeccable. Like I say, he carried the ball out brilliantly from the back, driving us forward. Almost scored with a header. I mean, if he'd have scored, I mean, that would have been just incredible. I mean, despite that, we can't hold that. He certainly doesn't get knocked off any marks for that. It's not his job.
No.
But I thought that was that's as good a defensive performance as you'll see from anyone all season in the Premier League. It was just world class. He's just, when he's in that kind of form and that kind of mood, I mean, he's just a stunning player. That was wonderful from Zuma today, and let's hope he can continue that form and we can get Aguerd in beside him. That's Zuma playing as the left side of centre back.
Absolutely, not his preferred position.
Not his preferred position, centre back. So we get Aguerd in there and get Zuma back in his preferred position. Get them working together, because Aguerd looks mustard as well. It has to be said. We could have ourselves just a brilliant centre-back pairing there, but 100% agree. I mean, I think there's no other candidate, as well as Declan Rice played, and I thought Declan Rice was superb today.
It's a good game. Really good
I think Zuma was so good that he's still the obvious choice.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, that wraps it up. There you go. Well, it's a 1-0 loss, but I think a lot of people are maybe fearing worse than that. I think the best team didn't win today, and I think it's fair. It's fair to say that. So that
I'll tell you what, Gonzo, right? Because we've had a couple of reversals away from home now. We've had the same result here as we've had at Anfield, and my mood is entirely different. Entirely different.
Yeah.
We went to Anfield.
We never went for it. We never went for it.
We never had a go. We never had a go at Anfield. No, we never got after them. And today we did. Today we decided, we're going to have a go here. We're going to come up. We're going to have a go at you, and we're going to take you on. And for those of you who make the usual comments when I say we should get after these teams and have a go at them, because they're not as good as you think they are. I get people, every time I say it, I get someone saying, oh, yeah, let's go out and attack them and lose 4 and 5-0. That's not what happens. And it's not what happened today. Leeds showed it yesterday at Anfield, and we've shown it today, albeit we didn't get the result we deserved. And a lot of that is our own fault. We weren't sharp enough, up front in the final third. But it just goes to show that you don't have to be scared of these teams. They have the name. They have the name, but they don't have the team. You can get at them and you can beat them even at their place. And hopefully this is the way forward for us now, and that Moyes himself even can see now that I've got a lot of bloody good players, and we can go and take these teams on, and we can get something from these games.
Yeah,
he's unfortunate today, I'm not blaming Moyes for that one today. We've been really a mixture of, like I say, just not quite being sharp enough at times. And then when we have been, particularly in the final quarter of the game, De Gea's pulled off a couple of worldies.
Yeah, and a bit of quality. I think if there was, you had, Paqueta, be it either on the pitch or on the bench, or then were able to bring Cornet off the bench, or just 2 more players who you thought might be involved to get a little bit of quality to get you a goal. It might well have been different, but I'm with you, Tommy. I just want to thank you so much you've helped me out massively. Thank you very much, and sage words as always, my friend. I do really enjoy your company, and so thank you very much. I was actually going to go live after this. I've got to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not going to. The chat's a little bit feisty for my liking for me to go live now. There'd be too much moderating needed. So I'm going to leave that well alone. I'll just upload a video later. I'm sure Gio will be back tomorrow with his thoughts on the game. Well, look, we've got video after video after video. And then we got the World Cup, and not so much. So there you go. Tommy, thanks ever so much, mate. And for everybody else, thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, well, I guess you'll give it a thumbs down, won't you? Oh, don't do that. No, don't do that. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we will be back very, very soon.
I won't, but